The Breville Barista Express is over $500 brand new. However, I found this one for $100 from Goodwill, but unfortunately it's broken. So in this video, we're gonna see if it's fixable and how easy or difficult it is to fix. Now, one of the reasons I took the chance on this is because it looks like it might be brand new. The tape is still on this top piece here. Sorry for the fuzziness there. Also, looking at the rest of the machine, it also looks to be in really good condition. There are some scuffs and scratches on it for sure, but overall this looks barely used. We do have some marks from shipping, unfortunately, that's marked up. There is one or two little dents in the side over here. So it's definitely not perfect, but if we can fix it, this is still a pretty good deal. Let's see if we can get this thing to turn on. Okay, I do have water in the tank, just up to the minimum level. And we plug it in, and we get nothing. No lights, no noises, no anything, okay? So that's the first thing we have to figure out. Let's get this thing torn apart and see why it's getting no power. Now this is interesting. I don't know if this power cable is supposed to be like this. It's got this kind of protective sleeve on it. I think I need to get this back piece off, this piece, and then this piece as well. Now, I do have to say, I've never actually taken one of these apart before. In fact, I've never even used one of these before. So this is gonna be an interesting process. I'm gonna get a bunch of these screws out and then see where we are. So I got all the screws out of the back. There's a hidden screw under this guy right here. That's not very nice. Oh no, it's a sunken down one too. All right, now we have a freakishly long screwdriver and we can reach it. Seriously, Breville, there's no reason to be jerks about it. Okay, hopefully that'll come out at some point. I'm sure it will when we least expect it. And then we've got one screw here and one screw over there. Probably the same thing. Yep, can't reach it. That one's too short. This one is too long. Yep, that's what I guessed. This size of screwdriver reaches the screw just fine. Looks to be about the right size. Okay, now we're making some progress. Yeah, I can see the lid just coming off right there, so I know we're doing this part right. This is a really long screw, apparently. Okay, I think we got that one. All right, that screw is now loose, and will they just fall out? No, of course not. Okay, this top piece. This top piece just comes out. Well, that's super easy. And there is our first look inside this coffee machine. That looks really clean inside. I'm not sure there's ever been anything that has been ground up in here. Okay, gotta get the back off though so we can check out this power problem. And now there's like a clip here, a clip down here, and I think one right about here. I feel like that's where this thing is. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Okay. Wow, those are some sturdy clips. Still doesn't want to come off though. Just found that this screw was still in there, so that seems to be the only problem. The only thing keeping that on. Oh, we do have a hose attached here, it looks like. Okay, there we go. We have that little hose right down there, still connected. Okay, I don't know that we even need to take that off though. This thing is very awkward. Okay, I did want to get that back cover off more, so I just removed the screws out of this little piece right here that plugs up into this hole right over here, and we got that back cover off. And now it looks like we have power coming in here up to these two connectors, and then we go into, I'm assuming there's a board back in here. So it looks like that's what we need to check next, see if we can figure out why there's no power getting to this thing. All right, does this, oh, this whole thing comes out now. Okay. We need to remove these screws so we can get this little piece off. It looks like it's just sort of like a strain relief, so we need to get that off. And then hopefully we can get this white board out and check out, I'm assuming that's the control board there, so. And that comes right off. And then this comes off like that. And then can we, oh yeah. Got a little package of electronics going on right here. Okay, we have one clip over here, one clip over here, and one clip on the top. There we go. There we have our first look at the board. I don't see anything blown or burnt on this side. At least that's obvious. Let's check the other side. And nothing too crazy going on there initially, but I need to inspect it a little bit more. Also, I think what I'm going to do is plug this thing back in. I'm going to isolate this board and then plug it back in and see if we have power coming into the board itself. All right. One probe on one side, one probe on the other. Hope if we can get it here. There we go. And we have 122 volts. So we know there's power coming in. We've got to figure out why it's not getting to the rest of the machine. So what we have here is a board that has 120 volts AC down here and DC voltage up here. So I've just been kind of doing some voltage testing and found that we have all the voltage we're supposed to have all up in here on all of these pins. So I don't think there's any problem immediately on this part of the board. And then I've been doing a little bit of testing down here. I don't have any sort of schematic for this board, so there's only so much I can do. But also, this chip has 5 volts going to it, so I'm guessing that's the amount that it needs. This chip also has 5 volts going to it. I'm trying to remember which pin that was. Yeah, there's a 5 volt there. So I know we have some amount of voltage going to this board where it seems like we should. I think there's another board back here. So I'm going to take that board out and check out that board. Now in order to access these two other boards here, we removed these 2 screws and then I had to pull up really hard. There's 2 clips that hold this front panel on. So I had to pull up really hard to get those off. Now I need to get the wires out from their little guides so we can actually pull this out a little bit further and get to the screws. Okay, so I'm gonna try this one first since it does have the power button in it. I'm hoping maybe this is the problem. And if it's not, then we'll go from there. Okay, and the screws are out. Just got these little clips on the sides. There we go. Okay, and I see a major problem. I don't know if it's the only one though. I gotta see if I can get this board out. And here is what we have. Do you see the problem? I see a problem right there. That's not supposed to do that. We gotta crack right down this board right here. Okay, so we gotta figure out how we're gonna fix that. Luckily, I think this is just basically a 1-layer board. So that's the good news. Oh, we got a crack right here too. This board is really messed up. Okay, but the nice thing is, I think, does that, oh, that does not unplug? Who puts a connector on a board that doesn't unplug? What are you guys doing? Well, that was gonna be really easy to just unplug this, but unfortunately, it is not. I probably could unplug it, deroute it from here, and then we have just this board to play with. That's what I'm gonna do because I need to be able to have really good access to this board. So I'm gonna deroute it from all down through here, and then we'll have just the board to mess with. All right, this is a little easier to work with. So we've got a crack that goes all the way through here, all the way over there. And actually it looks like it almost cracks that trace right there. And we've got another crack over here and over here. So the other problem is this switch right here. It's all bent up down here because this board just broke and pushed forward and just messed that all up. So I think what I'm going to do is desolder this switch so we can get that out of the way, and then we can work on rebuilding this board. I think what I'm going to do is get the switch out of the way, then I'm going to epoxy this whole board right here and let it dry, and then we'll see if we can repair all these traces. So what I'm going to use to do this is a desoldering gun. So basically this whole thing heats up, there's a vacuum pump built in, and when I touch this tip, down to those joints. That'll melt it, and then I can press the button on the gun and that will just suck that solder right up. First I need to turn my fume extractor on. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna use some flux. The other thing with this is this board is coated with a bunch of, I don't know, some sort of probably waterproofing coating. So hopefully the desoldering iron here will burn that off. Okay. All right, here we go. Oh, that's a pretty big pin right there. Might be too big for my gun to do. Yeah, it might have got it. It's hard to tell. Okay, that one we definitely got. I think we got that one. Okay, there's those three. So this one's got a little more solder on the edge here. We're gonna try and get off of here. Don't know if we, I think maybe we got it. Now let's see if we can pull this switch off. Yep, there we go. Now I think we'll be able to glue this thing together and then get the repairs done. So the first thing I'm gonna do is use some CA glue to get down into that crack. Then use a little instant set. There we go. And that has already hardened. I'm gonna let it dry and harden just a little bit more. Then I'm gonna flip it over and do the same on that. Okay, let's see how it looks when I remove the clamp. Yep, that stayed just how it should. Now I couldn't get the board fully lined up 100%, but it's pretty close. Okay, here we go, more glue. Just like that. A little more instant set. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I have to do it a little bit more carefully though, because a lot of these traces I'm going to have to grind off a bit. And so I don't want to put a bunch of glue right where I need to grind them off. But at the end of the day, I'm going to have to grind through some of this stuff anyway, so I'm going to put a little more glue on here than maybe is necessary, just because I want this to be as strong as we can get it. All right. And I do have my fume extractor going to hopefully suck up all these fumes. There we go. And next I'm just going to use a little grinding pen to grind away some of the solder mask so then I can repair the traces. I'll just clean this up a bit. All right, now I'm going to use some flux. Put some flux on these areas where I'm going to do the soldering. It looks like, oh yeah, there's a crack right there too. Okay, so that's where the other part of the crack was, it looks like. Yeah, so we got to do some work there too. We need from here down to here as well. And then also from here to here. I need to regrind that. I think we're okay here. Okay, so I'm going to do a little more grinding and get this fully prepped and then we'll do the soldering. All right, and here we go. What I'm going to be doing is creating new traces. So I'm going to do a little left-handed soldering here. I'm going to solder this wire onto this little pad right here, just like that. And the other end is going to go over here. Actually, I need to go a little bit further that way. There we go. The other end is going to go right down here. just like that. So this one trace is fixed. We've connected this side of the board to this side of the board. I think what I'll do next is I need to solder from here over to here. I could solder to here, but that makes a pretty short wire, so I'm going to do from here to here. It doesn't really matter that much, but if you do really short wires, then when you're soldering one end, the other one can easily desolder. Now I am using coated wire for this, so some of the time I can cut the wire to length beforehand. Sometimes, like this time, I don't know like really the exact size of wire I need. So in this case, I'm going to melt off the coating and then solder it, and then I will cut it after that. Okay, so now this trace has been restored, this trace has been restored. Now we need to do this one right here, a couple more over here, and a couple over here. Now I'm not going to film this whole process because you've seen how to do it, so I'm going to get a bunch of this done, and then we'll come back once it's done or close to being done. Okay, did we rebuild everything? I think I got everything. Okay, now that those are all soldered in, we're going to see if we can get this switch installed. Or I keep calling it a switch. It's actually not a switch. Probably like a rheostat or something. Got some of our adhesive in the way here. That's looking good now. So all those go in there. Mount, oh yeah, that's going to mount on there really nicely. So I'm actually going to also bend this little spacer back like that so it's out of the way. Actually, with that like that, it's probably going to be fine now. So these go in here. No, that's right on a wire. Okay, so what we need to do is move this wire out. Just like that. Okay, now let's check it. See if any of those wires hit. That one hits right there. So let's move this over just a bit. There we go. So that is in there just how it needs to be. So I need to keep pressure on this while I solder those little pins on. Okay, here we go with one. There we go. So unfortunately this pad tore off the board when this thing was smashed in. So I'm going to put some CA glue here and a little bit on the other side too, just to help stabilize it, and maybe even some right down here. So let's get that done, and then other than that, this thing is looking pretty good. Okay, I've got that glue on there. Now I'm just going to come through with some solder mask. This is actually conformal coating. This is just going to coat those joints and just help keep them protected. It shouldn't really matter, but you never know with this kind of stuff. I'm also going to add some to some of the wires we added, just to help them stay where they're supposed to be. They'll probably be fine, but just want to make sure we don't have any problems with these. And hopefully this thing just works when we're done, and I don't have to redo any of this, because this is going to be annoying if I do. So I'm going to call this board done and repaired. Got to let this dry, and then we'll install it and see if it works. Oh my goodness. I installed this backwards. That needs to come through the other side. All right, well, gotta redo that. Seriously, why do you guys even watch this? Man. So that's how it's supposed to look. Let's get this thing fitted in here, and then we'll route that wiring. That's on there how it should be. Buttons work and feel good. Knob works. All right. So we'll get this piece back on and get this wiring routed, and then it's just a matter of getting this thing back together. Now while we're in here, I did want to also check this board over here. I would not be happy if we did all of that work and then found out that this board was bad too. So let's check this one. Looks good from here. And this board looks perfect. I see no problems there. All right, cool. Now we'll get this back together and get that other board plugged in, and hopefully that's all this thing needs. Okay, so we are getting this thing back together. All of these wires are routed correctly through there. We got this back piece on. Now I think we need to get this piece on, just like that. I'm guessing that goes right there. And then, okay, there we go. Now I gotta get a few screws in it, and then we can test it. And with that, this thing is all back together. All the pieces are in, all the screws are in. I have no leftover screws, so you know this is gonna be good. I'm gonna plug it in and see if it works. And, yeah! Now, I don't actually know how these things work. I've never used one before, so I'm gonna hand this over to Restorist Rob, since he's basically an expert, see if he can make us a good cup of coffee. All right, so here we are with the coffee machine. Restorist Rob is gonna show us how it works.
What's up, Steve? I am so excited. So, we're gonna start by turning it on.
Nice, so far it actually works.
Okay, I already did 1 cup with this to make sure that the grind, everything is calibrated right.
Yeah.
The settings should be good. So, single serving here. We're just gonna drop our single cup right in there.
Beautiful.
Get this out, and then...
Give it a little tampy tamp.
So, let's drop this in here now. Get this under here. Give it a whirl and see how this comes out.
Oh, it's a thing of beauty.
Okay, our range is kind of a little bit on the higher end, but I like it there. As long as we get between a 20 to 30 second draw, which you can count with these blinking lights, and we're in that range, we should be somewhere good for an espresso shot.
Yeah, I totally know what all that means.
And I don't want my Americano too watered down for a single shot. A little bit of oat milk. And
there we go.
Stupid hair.
Yeah, you gotta make sure and fix your hair.
It's not bad.
Nice. So there we have it. The Breville Espresso machine is all fixed up and working great. If you like videos like this where I'm trying to see if expensive stuff is repairable, I made a video where I tried to fix expensive Dyson products. I'll put a link for that video up on your screen now so you can come hang out with me over there and see how fixable they are. Thanks so much for watching today, and I hope you have a good one.